Hello, everyone. How have you all week been? How has your week been? What was the highlight of your week? Because if you remember, I recently started the discussion board on our platform, and discussion board number one to start off 2020 January was, what is your greatest expectations for 2020? And what is your greatest challenge for 2020? Because they both really have something to do with each other. They both really matter in importance to the relationship they have with each other. Because with the peak always comes, the fall from that peak. So while you may have, a rise in certain things that you're looking forward to, like, I'm going to ace this, I know I'm going to excel, I know I'm going to prove everything wrong, and I'm just, going to beat the enemy with this. But then there's going to always be those things that are not your tough spots. They're more of your weak spots. So, like, what is your greatest challenge? What's your greatest expectation? Because they both matter in importance. So that goes into consideration of this. This actually is a feature of the college series, All Things About College Life, coming from a college student herself. So this is going to be a feature in this series, and I want to talk about relating to college, how there will be not necessarily setbacks as much. Of course, there will be setbacks because, you may get to college as an 18-year-old and you may have thought you knew what you wanted to do, or you may have had your mind made up to go a certain way, but then you have to face the facts that I don't feel this way anymore. My interests are not the same, and I am actually gravitating in a different direction, which is cool. It's part of life, and the good thing is we're human beings and we know how to adapt to our environment. The weakest of us and the strongest of us. So when you see that you get to college, and sometimes it gets to the point where you may have to transfer because you're no longer satisfied with the college you're going to. And while I have not had that experience, and I don't want that experience, I completely do not want you to be discouraged if you find yourself having to transfer or having to go a different route than you expected, because you can rise. You can continue in your secondary education career. You can get that degree, whether it's bachelor's of art, bachelor's of science, and it's just a learning experience. Everything in life is meant for us to learn from and meant for us to become better, because the smarter we are, the better, right? So if you because most recently, you may have to withdraw from classes. Most recently, I withdrew from a class because I took on more than I could bear. And not only that, I no longer found that I really needed that class. So sometimes it happens where changes happen along the way. And sometimes it seems like you keep encountering this over and over. I keep coming into bumps in the road. I keep having to do this and do that, and kind of put my attention on all these things, and I can't really focus in on the one thing that's most important. Because when you're in college, depending on how you choose to do your college career, your mind span and your attention span is going to it's times 200. It's you're panning in on a lot of things, depending on whether you're an athlete, depending on how many courses you're taking. This semester, I'm taking 6 or 7 courses. And, depending on whether you're into leadership, you may take on leadership positions, which you're doing all of this work study. I'm doing work study. You're doing all of this while also being a college student, which is studying. When you think of a college student, you think of someone who's studying. You think of someone who's trying to be an expert in a certain area or field. But along with that, they also are living a whole college life. And that's the reason why I wanted to create this series, because there's no one that can tell college life better than someone who's in it themselves and going through it. I could have waited after I graduated. I could have tried talking about college before, but how can you really know better than someone who's in the midst of it themselves and they're having to live according to what they're speaking? So I just want you to know that the title of this series is that in college, you will have to adapt. College is about adapting. You have to adapt, and you will have to make serious decisions and sometimes changes in what path you find yourself going. But to me, the worst thing is, do not decide to drop out. Do not decide to say, if you came in with the commitment in your mind that you're going to get to the end of that road, and you had a roadmap. No college student should come without a roadmap. But if you came to college with all of that in mind, then I don't care what you face, how big or small it is, you will persist if that's what you're supposed to do. So don't drop out and don't just drop out because of anything. Like, if you drop out, make sure you have considered all your options. What are your options? And you're 100% certain you will never regret it or never look back. Because, I feel like you can always go back to college later in your life, like in your 20s, 30s, 40s. But to me, it's a very beautiful experience to come straight out of high school and go into college. It's a very beautiful experience because you're becoming an adult while you're in college. You're literally becoming an adult, and you're literally learning how to run this race in the real world, but you're learning it centered by community. You're learning it on a campus, and everyone knows that campuses are not always completely 100% safe, and that there's just as much temptation and diversions on campus as there can be in the real world. But you're literally surrounded by other people your age, peers and students who, it's like you're literally surrounded by so much community, opportunity, and sometimes guidance if you know how to understand guidance and search for it. So continue on if you're a college student, and not only that, if you're in middle school, high school, and you're listening to this and you know that soon this will be your experience. College is beautiful. College is really, really a grand opportunity. It really is. I think it's an opportunity that's above many other opportunities. And I know when I was in high school, I actually applied to, I believe, probably about 13 colleges, and I got accepted into every college. So yeah, I had I kind of made my application process very studious, and I kind of stretched it because I really wanted to make sure that I was considering every single option. And to me, it was exciting. Maybe the feeling of knowing that I'm going to apply to this school and they're going to accept me, because how can they reject me? That was the feeling that I liked. So yeah, I just applied and I applied and I received so many emails during that time of my life, and it was a very exciting time as far as the researching process to make sure this school is where I'm looking for. Because number one, when you're in the midst of the application process, do not apply to a school that you do not see yourself being a potential student there. Don't waste your time. And there can be very heavy consequences when you apply to a school and then you say, well, I'm not going to go there, or pretty much just don't waste your time applying to a school that you would not want to really go there. So usually they say apply to at least 3 schools, and I would recommend that you apply to at least 3 colleges during your application process as a junior, senior in high school. So yeah, apply to at least 3 universities or colleges that you see yourself being a potential student at. And along with that, make sure that you are not accepting less than what you deserve, because you know what kind of quality you bring to the table as a student. You know whether you were an honor roll student. You know whether you were a hardworking athlete. Make sure you're not getting beneath what you deserve as far as scholarship recommendations or, whatever. Because remember, it's kind of like, what they call it? Bidding. The highest bidder is, who gets it. And that should be the case when you're dealing with these colleges. That's how I felt. I felt like when I look at a school overall, how is their tone? How are they contacting me, or am I having to continuously contact them first? I paid attention to all of that stuff when I was in the midst of my college process. And there were so many schools that wanted me, because they knew about my history. They knew my GPA was a 4.0. So this right here is just part of the college series. And pretty much remember, college is about adapting, and college is also about learning how to deal with changes. The time comes and goes fast between you being 18 and you being a 21, 22-year-old ready to enter into the real world. So I say just relax and take it easy, but also know that don't waste your time. Make sure you're in college and that you're actually putting forth your best efforts and just moving smartly. Move very smartly as a young adult. So I hope that this was very informative, and I hope that it made sense how I talked about, and I tried to apply some of my experiences personally so that you can understand, because there's so much, it's kind of overwhelming how it's been for me, but at the same time, it's been a very beautiful experience. And I say an experience has been beautiful. It's been a while since I completely labeled or deemed an experience beautiful, but college has been a beautiful experience because I really realized how I can fit into this maze called society, and I realized my place, and I'm no longer being, controlled by teachers, controlled by principals, and, having to worry about dealing with peers who are immature, peers who just want to get on your nerves, and you actually have their freedom to come and go as you please, and just pretty much live an adult lifestyle kind of in a way that is for your age group. So I just hope that, and along with that, I'm going to have another episode for this series. I guess that will be like episode 3 maybe. It's going to talk about the responsibility and the weight of college. Because with the responsibility, the weight, and the freedom. Because with freedom, there is responsibility, and with responsibility, you can also enjoy the luxury of freedom. So I hope this episode was helpful. I want you to share it with other people, especially those in middle, high school, up to college students. I want you to share this with them people. And I just want you to spread the word about this episode and the series that we're doing, because we're going to have a good time with this series. And it's no telling. This series might go on all 2020, you all, because I have some exciting news to reveal. And I will reveal that I am going to be graduating very soon. So I'm going to reveal that date to you all. But anyways, I just wanted to talk about how college is about adapting and also rolling with the punches kind of, and dealing with those little changes, like whether you decide to change your major, whether you decide that you want to move the dorm, or you want to move here, or you no longer want to live in this dorm, so you want to move to this apartment. Those things that when we were 18, 17, 16, we didn't even have to deal with. Welcome to life. Welcome to college. So again, this is the host of the MR podcast, and I am I'm excited to be doing this series. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you gained something from this, whether it was a tidbit or a large bit. So I am tuning out, and thank you for listening.